Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Spooky Stories with Josh and Kim, where we read you multiple spooky stories and we discuss them. I don't know what Kim's going to read and she doesn't know what I'm going to read. Yep. You say something, I don't know.
That's it. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to do. I guess we might as well just get right into it.
Yeah.
And we'll be back after everything, so enjoy.
So my first story, the name that was on there was just Cordy88. My brother grew up being terrified of water. I'm 4 years older than him, and during the nightly battle for bath time, when he was about 3 or 4, I asked him why he was so scared of water. He looked at me, and I remember this word for word. I was in a big, unsinkable ship. We hit the biggest iceberg, and then it was really busy, and then I got really cold and wet. I went to a warm, bright place and waited until my next family came. My mom heard it all and decided bath time was over. Creepy thing is, my brother was born April 15th, 1992. The Titanic sunk April 15th, 1912.
So, like, I'm assuming he's kind of like in the assumption that maybe his brother is like reincarnated or something like that.
Yeah. He died on the Titanic and...
He's waiting for his next family to come get me, he said.
Yeah.
So, That'll be just a great thing to hear your little brother say.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
I don't like water. Why?
Like, Mom, can we get a new brother? This one's broke. I don't want this one
big
anymore.
Ship.
Yeah, dear God.
Kate Winslet wouldn't let me on her giant door, you know. Oh. Alright, so my next one is a Reddit user, Quiet Voice 4846. Late at night, I usually go to the bathroom multiple times, but for the past 4 days, every time I go to leave, I can see myself standing in the mirror from the corner of my eye. It is like the other me is watching me leave the bathroom. It terrifies me to the point that I almost run out without looking directly at the mirror. I never told my husband about it because I didn't want to acknowledge it out loud. Earlier today, I took a nap in our bed while he sat in a chair next to it watching TV. When I woke up, he told me that he had seen me sit up and crawl backwards to the edge of the bed and stand up in front of our bedroom door from the corner of his eye. He thought it was weird that I got up like that because I'm in the last months of my pregnancy and I can't really move so well without it hurting, so he tried talking to me. When I didn't answer, he looked at the door to find me not there and still sleeping in bed. I got really creeped out and finally told him about what I had been seeing in the bathroom. He thought it was creepy as well, but didn't really want to talk about it anymore because he thinks it will give whatever it is power or energy. I have no idea what it wants or why we both saw it.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
She just crawled backwards.
Yeah, like basically
Yeah.
like, you know, how you kind of crawl like back like that.
Yeah, you know,
and
as
then,
you do.
Yeah.
That's weird. Some doppelganger crap, and then she's like, "Yeah, we're not going to talk about it." Like,
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Yeah, you don't want to summon. I mean, like, no, if someone's going to talk about that, the hell? You know, you see me crawling backwards, and it's like it's out of the corner of his eye. So then when you actually look, she was just like where she was supposed to be.
Yeah. So she was still sleeping.
Yeah.
She wasn't in the door. She was just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Creepy. All right. This one is from MeowZ2711. My best friend lost her unborn daughter in a car crash when she was 7 months pregnant. After that, she felt cold for weeks. Nothing could help her feel warm. A few weeks after that, she went to her mother's for breakfast, and her mother said that she had a dream about my best friend's grandpa. with a baby in his arms. He said, "I found Julia's baby girl." I'm assuming that's who Meow is. Or the best friend, sorry. "I'm going to keep her safe and warm." My best friend told her mother she suddenly felt warm again. A few hours later, the phone rang. They were told that the best friend's grandpa died last night.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I guess, if you're in that situation, maybe comforting. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not the fact, like, oh yeah, well, grandpa's dead, now everyone's just dead. But, I guess at least, yeah. I've heard, like, things like that, before with, like, people, like, that kind of, like, coincidental thing, like, coming through dreams. I've had weird dreams and stuff kind of like that before. Dreams that almost seem like premonitions because you dream about something and something very similar, like, happens in a very close proximity to that time frame. It is kind of weird. And there's whole theories about people that think that some, dream, like, things that come to you in dreams can just be that, like, I don't know, I want to use predictions or whatever, but, like, tellings of the future. Back to the other story, I will say, like, I don't know why, and I think it's horror movies that have done this, but mirrors in general just kind of freak me out. Like, especially, like, if you're alone, like, sometimes, like, I don't know, I don't really, like, I always feel like I want to look up and see something in the mirror.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Something about mirrors freak me out. I know there's a lot of, like, stuff in, like, the paranormal field, if you will, that deals with, like, mirrors being portals and they can be and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, like,
well, I know there's certain
mirrors.
religions that when somebody dies, I think it might be like the Jewish religion and some others, I'm sure, but they actually cover the mirrors in the house so that the spirit won't get trapped in them and haunt the place, that they'll go to wherever they're supposed to go and they won't be trapped in the mirror because they believe that it is like a portal or, it can trap somebody and stuff.
Well, with Madison Seminary, they had a couple of the meters covered because of that same reason.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen that, hey, go watch Haunted Adventures. It's on our YouTube page. It's we go and we ghost hunt places.
Yeah.
So go watch that if you like spooky stuff.
We caught stuff
Yeah.
there.
All right. Is that all the stories you had?
That's it.
All right. I guess I will take my turn telling my spooky stories. Okay, I just have two this time. Both are a little bit longer. I don't have a third one. All right, so the first one, this comes from Reddit user AngelFox1, and he had just titled this on there. "I volunteered after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and there's something that still scares me to this day."
Alligators.
Well, okay, here it goes. I have a medical background and a certification I rarely use, though I keep going back and paying to renew it. Anyhow, I volunteered almost immediately, thinking I would help those who had lived through Hurricane Katrina. That was not the case. There were a few of us who were assigned once the water started to recede, to find houses that had dead bodies in them. If you've ever had to do a body recovery when it has been lying around in the heat and water for days, sometimes weeks at a time, you know how it smells. It does sort of smell like any other dead carcass, but worse. I can't explain it. Maybe somehow sweeter smelling? Anyway, the key to not vomiting when you smell them is Vicks, in and under around the bottom of your nose. It doesn't keep all the smell out, but enough until you can at least tolerate the smell without vomiting. We had to go to each house and go inside in wading boots and look for bodies. Many of them washed out to sea, but some of them were still in the house they had lived in prior to the hurricane. If we found a body, we spray painted a big X on the outside of the house. This other guy and I had been doing it for a while, and we got assigned to each other almost every day. We got along okay, and he didn't vomit at the ones that had been gotten to. We came up to this one old shack. I say shack because it was pretty run down, and in what had been a very bad neighborhood. Right away, I got chills down my spine. I knew there was something really wrong. Not like find a body kind of wrong, but chilling kind of wrong. New Orleans has certain areas that just give off these vibes, and my understanding is there's a lot of voodoo practiced in certain areas. Anyway, against everything my body was screaming at me, when we went in the house, the first thing I could smell was a body. The second was something almost earthy and mold. I looked at my partner. I'll just call him Jay. He was white as a sheet. The I could tell he was getting that same feeling I had been getting. It was obvious from the weird bones hanging from the ceiling. I'd bet money they were cats. Something odd had been going down in the house, as well as the strange beads and carvings in the bare wood and on the walls. We went into what was the kitchen, and there chained to a beam was an old lady, or what was left of her. She had chained herself by her wrist to the beam. Her guts were falling out on the floor. The creepiest thing was her face, still looked as though she was alive and staring at us with a wicked smile, showing only partially her teeth. They were nubs. My skin started crawling and the goosebumps spread over my body and my neck hair stood up. Suddenly, I heard the most unearthly cackling noise I have ever heard in my life, and my fight or flight kicked in. Jay and I noped out of there. We quickly painted an X and literally ran to the next house. Now, I don't know if that old lady had practiced voodoo or whatever, but that scared the ever-living shit out of me. It still gives me nightmares. The people I feel sorry for are the ones who had to take that crazy lady out of there. Jay and I discussed that night after we went back to the hotels north of there. He had heard the cackling too, but we both had just decided it had to be the wind or something.
Wow.
So, like, I mean, just not even like the maybe supernatural element of it, but just imagine, like, having to have that job.
Right.
No.
Let's go look for bodies.
I mean, I guess, and that's the kind of thing, like, when these disasters, that's probably kind of a thing that you don't think of, but I mean, someone has to have the job to go look for the bodies.
Yeah.
And that's what really stood out, and just the fact, and there's a lot of voodoo, I could definitely see this being real, because the guy even kind of like, maybe it was just our mind playing tricks on us, but whether or not, just the thought of that's your job, you go into a house and you see what they saw. Noped out of there is a good description.
Yeah, I definitely would have noped. I would have heard just, but like, yeah, okay. Confirmed dead body, let's put the X, let's go.
Right. And then my last story, didn't really have a name, but I did get the author that wrote it from Reddit, Jim Bob Ball. Jim Bob Ball. Alright. A good friend of mine told me this story years ago. He is the stereotypical old big bad trucker. I've seen some weird stuff with him while driving in South Texas along the border. He never even batted an eye. But while telling me the story, he had goosebumps in a concerned expression, which from this guy is about the equivalent of a trembling lip and shit-stained pants. I'll tell the story in first person as he told it to me. Years ago in the late 90s, I was on my way from the house, Central Texas, heading to Laredo to pick up a load. It was early morning, around 4 or 5. I had just come off a string of days at home, so I knew I wasn't tired. I'm on one of those 2-lane winding roads in the absolutely middle of nowhere, which I see something on the side of the road at the edge with my high beams. At first, I just thought it was roadkill, as usual is the case. As I get closer, I see that it is roadkill, and there's someone crouched over the deer carcass. I remember thinking either this guy's taking the antlers as a trophy, or he's sick. As I get closer, I can now see that this guy's eating the deer. He's pulling chunks of meat from the stomach and bringing them up to his face. At this point, he stops mid-motion and looks up at me. Not my truck, but at me. He/it stands up, and that's when I see that it's huge, brown and covered in hair. I remember thinking at this point, oh crap, this thing is standing on the tiny shoulder looking at me. By this point, maybe 3 seconds have passed and I'm at the point in the road he's standing at. I don't even think of stopping. In fact, I'm starting to lay on it and get the hell out of there. As I'm passing it, it looks at me. Again, not at my truck, but at me. Right through the windshield. He obviously has the intelligence to know that there's a driver in here and knows where I'm sitting. As I start to pass him, I can still see its head above the hood of an old needle-nose Pete. Old truck design where the hood goes straight out from the windshield, known for being all the difficult to see around. This thing is giant. I remember seeing what looked like a human intelligence in its eyes. It scares the crap out of me. Sorry for the wall of text. It's a story worth sharing, though. And he says, Bigfoot eating a deer on the side of the road, maybe?
That's what I thought, yeah.
This one is hard to read through because it's kind of... I had to paraphrase because the way it's typed doesn't make much sense. I get what he's getting at, but I just found the Bigfoot one. This was just, I think, a comment on someone else's thing, like asking about stories, but Yeah, that'd be fun. Just driving, you're like, oh, it's a deer carcass. Oh, there's something eating the deer carcass.
Yeah.
That's big.
Big and furry.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is the first you just thought it was a guy too, and it's like I don't even know what's creepier. Like, seeing if it was like a man just eating a dead deer on the side of the road, or if it's just Bigfoot. Like, if it's Bigfoot,
it's
it makes
just Bigfoot.
I mean, it makes more sense if it's Bigfoot than just some crazy guy just liking a deer.
Right,
Right?
yeah, Bigfoot, yeah. You think, oh, well, he's looking for food. He's scrounging for food. But if it's like some just normal guy, you're like, wait, dude, there's like a McDonald's down the street. Go eat that.
Yeah, like, I'll give you $1. Please stop eating the deer.
All right, guys. Well, did you enjoy those spooky stories? Let us know in the comments. Let us know if you have a spooky story you want us to read. Mm-hmm. Give us a link. One of us will tap on it and maybe like look at it or something. We'll see.
Right, exactly. And if you're watching this, or not watching, if you're listening to this via podcast, you can't really like leave comments, but you can go to our YouTube channel and find this episode and leave a comment there. So make sure you are subscribed and like this video, or just make sure you're subscribed to our podcast. Do both. That's even better. But yeah, I think that's about it for this episode, and we will see you guys in the next one.